Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. The Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves at a fascinating crossroads heading into their highly anticipated matchup against the Cleveland Browns. What once looked like a relatively straightforward offensive plan has suddenly taken a dramatic turn after wide receiver Calvin Austin III went down with a shoulder injury during the international showcase against the Minnesota Vikings in Ireland. Austin, who had quickly become one of the most electrifying playmakers in Pittsburgh's offense, left the game early and never returned, casting a shadow of uncertainty over how the Steelers will structure their attack in the coming weeks. If Austin misses time, that leaves a significant void, one that could reshape the very identity of this offense, particularly as the Steelers try to build consistency and chemistry behind veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Now, let's talk about Rodgers for a moment. The future Hall of Famer didn't come to Pittsburgh just to be a passenger on this team's journey. He came to win, and to elevate this offense to heights it hasn't reached in years. But to do that, he needs weapons he can trust, and that's where things get really interesting. With Austin potentially sidelined, one name has emerged as a player who could redefine Pittsburgh's passing game: Jonnu Smith. The veteran tight end, acquired from the Miami Dolphins in a bold offseason trade, brings with him a reputation as one of the most athletic and versatile tight ends in football. He's not just a safety blanket for Rodgers. He's a potential game breaker who can line up anywhere on the field and make life miserable for defenders. Smith's addition was one of those under-the-radar moves that didn't get enough national attention back when it happened, but insiders in Pittsburgh knew the potential was there. In Miami, he was a key part of an explosive offense, thriving in motion-heavy schemes and creative play designs that allowed him to attack mismatches. That's exactly what the Steelers need right now: a veteran with the speed of a receiver and the power of a tight end, capable of taking short passes and turning them into chunk plays. With Austin out, this is Jonnu's moment to remind the league why, not long ago, he was viewed as one of the most complete tight ends in football. Steelers insider Mark Kaboly of The Athletic recently echoed that sentiment, noting that Smith could very well become the focal point of the offense in Austin's absence. Kaboly emphasized that the Steelers need to lean more into play action and two tight end sets, schemes that naturally fit both Smith and Pat Freiermuth. Kaboly questioned who will emerge as the team's number 2 option behind George Pickens, and the answer may not come from the wide receiver room at all. Is it Roman Wilson? Or is it going to be Jonnu Smith finally moving into that spot where we thought he might fit in before Calvin Austin III emerged? Kaboly asked, sparking a conversation among fans and analysts alike about what the Steelers' offense could look like moving forward. Smith's potential to thrive in this system can't be overstated. When you pair him with Rodgers, a quarterback who has built a career on timing, precision, and exploiting mismatches, you can start to envision some very creative offensive sets. Imagine Smith motioning out wide, drawing a linebacker in coverage, only for Rodgers to recognize the mismatch pre-snap and exploit it instantly. The Steelers' offensive coordinator has the chance to open up the playbook in a way that allows Smith to shine not just as a traditional tight end, but as a hybrid weapon who can line up anywhere from the slot to the outside. That versatility could be the key to keeping Pittsburgh's offense unpredictable and dangerous while Austin recovers. But Smith isn't the only player who could benefit from this reshuffling of roles. Rookie receiver Roman Wilson is another intriguing name to watch. The former Michigan standout has been waiting patiently for his chance to make a statement at the professional level. So far, his contributions have been minimal, just one catch for 7 yards this season, but that doesn't tell the full story. Wilson has impressed coaches in practice with his crisp route running and strong hands, and he has the kind of short area quickness that could make him an ideal complement to George Pickens on the outside. If Rodgers and offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, no relation to Jonnu, decide to test Wilson's readiness, Sunday's game against the Browns could be his opportunity to prove he belongs. Speaking of tight ends, let's not overlook Pat Freiermuth, who's had a surprisingly quiet start to the 2025 campaign. Through the first few games, Freiermuth has only 7 receptions for 65 yards, a far cry from the numbers he put up last season when he racked up over 650 yards and 7 touchdowns. For a player of his caliber, those numbers are underwhelming, and it's fair to wonder whether the Steelers have fully utilized his skill set so far. Freiermuth is a natural mismatch problem. He's too fast for linebackers and too strong for most defensive backs, and yet he's barely been featured in the offensive scheme. If Austin's absence leads to more too tight end formations, Freiermuth could suddenly find himself right back in the mix as a primary target for Rodgers. It's also worth noting that Rodgers has historically leaned heavily on his tight ends when key receivers have gone down. In Green Bay, we saw him elevate players like Robert Tonyan into reliable red zone weapons simply by trusting them in key moments. Freiermuth could easily be the beneficiary of that kind of trust. He's got the hands, the body control, and the football IQ to thrive in a system that values timing and precision. If the Steelers use him properly, this could be the week we see him return to form. And if that happens, Cleveland's defense could be in for a very long afternoon. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. The Steelers are heading into their first divisional game of the 2025 season, and it's not just any divisional matchup. It's against a Browns team that boasts one of the best defensive units in football. Cleveland's front seven is ferocious, anchored by Myles Garrett, and their secondary is deep and disciplined. This is not a defense you can afford to attack predictably. Pittsburgh's offensive success on Sunday will depend heavily on creativity, balance, and execution. And that's exactly why players like Jonnu Smith are so valuable. His presence forces defenses to account for multiple possibilities. He can line up inline to block, shift into the slot to create space, or even act as a decoy to free up Pickens or Freiermuth downfield. From a strategic standpoint, this could be the game where the Steelers finally start to show some identity. Up to this point, the offense has been a bit of a mystery, flashes of brilliance mixed with inconsistency. That's not unusual when you have a new quarterback like Rodgers still learning the tendencies of his young receivers and adjusting to a new system. But as every football fan knows, great offenses aren't just about talent. They're about rhythm, chemistry, and trust. When one of your key players like Calvin Austin goes down, it can either derail your momentum or open the door for someone else to step up and make a name for themselves. Pittsburgh is hoping for the latter. And if there's one thing the Steelers have always prided themselves on, it's resilience. This franchise has a long history of turning adversity into opportunity. Injuries, roster changes, tough matchups, they've seen it all. What separates the Steelers from so many other teams is their ability to adapt without losing their edge. Under head coach Mike Tomlin, this team has built a culture around accountability and toughness. Tomlin doesn't believe in excuses. He believes in execution. You can bet he's already challenging his players to rise to the occasion, to make the most of the moment, and to prove that this offense can still hum even without one of its top playmakers. Fans will be watching closely to see how Rodgers distributes the ball this Sunday. Will he lean on Smith in the short to intermediate game? Will we see more of Pickens attacking deep routes? Or will Roman Wilson emerge as the surprise breakout star? These are the storylines that make this game so compelling. For Pittsburgh, this isn't just about beating the Browns. It's about setting the tone for the rest of the season, showing the league that they're not just contenders, but true threats in the AFC North race. The Steelers' offense may look different without Calvin Austin III, but different doesn't have to mean worse. In fact, this could be the very spark they need to unlock a more balanced and versatile attack. Jonnu Smith represents that bridge between stability and explosiveness, a veteran who knows how to make big plays and lead by example. If Rodgers can build that connection with him and Freiermuth, Pittsburgh's offense could evolve into something far more dangerous than what we've seen so far. So as the Steelers prepare to take the field on Sunday, one thing feels certain: opportunity is knocking. Whether it's Jonnu Smith stepping into the spotlight, Freiermuth rediscovering his rhythm, or Roman Wilson earning his first real moment of glory, the pieces are there for this offense to turn a potential setback into a defining moment. The Browns may bring the pressure, but the Steelers have the talent, the leadership, and the determination to respond. And if Jonnu Smith becomes the consistent weapon many expect him to be, this offense might just find its missing piece, not just for this week, but for the rest of the season. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. The rumor mill in Pittsburgh is buzzing louder than ever, and it seems the man at the center of it all is none other than Aaron Charles Rodgers, the superstar quarterback who who has been carrying the weight of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense on his broad shoulders. Sources close to the team have hinted that Rodgers is growing increasingly frustrated with the current state of the roster, and whispers around the locker room suggest that his patience has finally worn thin. Over the past few weeks, the tension has been palpable, and insiders claim that Rodgers hasn't been shy about expressing his dissatisfaction to the coaching staff and, more importantly, to ownership. What exactly sparked this latest wave of frustration is a matter of speculation, but one thing is clear. Rodgers wants reinforcements, and he wants them now. The veteran signal caller, known for his laser-accurate throws and ice-cold composure under pressure, reportedly feels that the Steelers' front office has not done enough to provide the team with the weapons necessary to compete at the highest level, and the latest whispers suggest that he is ready to make his feelings known publicly if changes aren't made. Talk around Heinz Field has reached fever pitch, with insiders suggesting that Rodgers has privately demanded the acquisition of key players to bolster the offensive line, deepen the receiving core, and bring in fresh talent at positions that have been exposed time and again this season. It's not just a casual request either. According to close sources, Rodgers allegedly left no room for misinterpretation when he addressed the team's owner, making it crystal clear that without serious upgrades, he might reconsider his future with the franchise. Rumors suggest that the quarterback's message was firm but respectful, emphasizing his desire to win and to see the Steelers rise back to contention, but his underlying impatience was unmistakable. Fans and analysts alike have been dissecting every interview, every sideline reaction, and every social media post from Rodgers, trying to decode whether this is simply the frustration of a competitor or the first signs of a potential rift that could redefine the Steelers' trajectory for years to come. The pressure on the Steelers' front office is now immense. Sources close to the team claim that Rodgers' insistence on reinforcements has sparked internal debates among executives, coaches, and scouts, with some arguing that major moves must be made before it's too late. Rumors suggest that the quarterback has already provided a list of potential targets, ranging from young, dynamic receivers to experienced linemen who can protect him in critical moments. According to insiders, Rodgers' vision for the team is not merely about patching holes. He allegedly wants a complete reshaping of the offense, an upgrade that can transform the Steelers into a legitimate playoff contender. The idea that one player could wield so much influence over personnel decisions might raise eyebrows. But for a quarterback of Rodgers' caliber, someone who has consistently been in the MVP conversation and has led teams deep into the playoffs, there's a sense among insiders that the Steelers would be foolish to ignore his input. Adding fuel to the speculation fire is the reported tension between Rodgers and certain coaching staff members, who, according to sources, have been on the receiving end of pointed critiques regarding play calling and offensive strategy. Insiders claim that Rodgers is not just calling for new talent, but is also seeking a shift in philosophy, one that leverages his strengths and allows him to dictate the tempo and style of play. This rumored clash between Rodgers and the coaching staff has fans and commentators buzzing, debating whether the quarterback's influence is a sign of leadership or a symptom of frustration boiling over. Social media has been ablaze with theories, with hashtags trending about Rodgers' demands, rumored targets, and potential repercussions if the Steelers' front office fails to meet his expectations. Even former players and analysts are weighing in, speculating on how this standoff could affect team chemistry, draft strategies, and free agency decisions. Meanwhile, the locker room reportedly reflects a mix of excitement and anxiety. According to whispers from sources close to the team, some players are energized by the prospect of Rodgers demanding reinforcements, believing it signals that the franchise is serious about contending and that their leader is willing to fight for them. Others, however, are more cautious, worried that the growing pressure could create divisions or distract from the game plan. The rumor mill suggests that Rodgers has been holding private meetings with certain teammates, emphasizing unity and the importance of collective focus, even as he continues to push management for immediate action. Fans are following every report with bated breath, trying to gauge whether Rodgers' demands will spark a transformation that brings the Steelers back to prominence or if they mark the beginning of a contentious offseason filled with difficult decisions. Adding another layer of intrigue, sources indicate that Rodgers may have left an implicit message for ownership, hinting that his commitment to Pittsburgh is not unconditional. While insiders caution that he has not threatened to leave outright, the message is said to be clear. If the team does not move decisively to address its weaknesses, Rodgers may begin exploring alternatives. This has led to a flurry of speculation about potential trade scenarios, free agency options, and how the Steelers could respond without losing the trust and talent of one of the league's most accomplished quarterbacks. Analysts are now painting scenarios where Rodgers' influence could reshape the franchise, from the draft table to the signing of high-profile free agents, and even in potential coaching changes. The rumor mill in Pittsburgh is relentless, and each new report seems to add a twist to the narrative, leaving fans, commentators, and rival teams guessing about the future of the Steelers' offense and the role Rodgers will play in it. As the chatter continues, one thing is undeniable. Aaron Rodgers is making his voice heard, and the ripple effects of his demands are being felt throughout the organization. Rumors suggest that the quarterback's insistence on reinforcements has ignited a sense of urgency that had been absent in recent months, forcing the front office to reevaluate priorities and strategies. Insiders hint that discussions about potential trades, free agent signings, and draft day maneuvers are now happening at a faster pace, with the goal of aligning the roster with Rodgers' expectations. Fans, meanwhile, are eagerly watching every report, every subtle hint, and every press conference, trying to decipher what the latest developments mean for the team's future. The narrative swirling around Rodgers' demands has created a perfect storm of speculation, hope, and tension, leaving the Steelers in the center of one of the NFL's most compelling off-field sagas in recent memory. Whether Rodgers' calls for reinforcements will yield the results he desires remains to be seen, but the rumors are impossible to ignore. According to insiders, the quarterback's approach is methodical and deliberate, combining strategic insight with an unshakable drive to win. Rumors suggest that Rodgers is weighing each potential addition with precision, considering how new pieces would fit into the offense and whether they would allow the Steelers to compete at a championship level. At the same time, whispers indicate that Rodgers is acutely aware of his own legacy and the responsibility he carries as a leader, fueling the intensity of his demands and the urgency with which he has made his feelings known. The dynamic at Heinz Field has shifted, and every report, every conversation, and every rumor contributes to a growing narrative that could redefine the Steelers' season, potentially even their long-term future, as the pressure mounts on management to respond to one of the most influential quarterbacks in the league today. The Pittsburgh rumor mill continues to churn, and at its heart is Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback whose brilliance on the field is matched only by the intensity of his desire to win. Rumors suggest that this is more than a passing frustration. It is a calculated push to elevate the team, to ensure that the Steelers are not merely participants but true contenders. Fans are captivated by every snippet, every insider account, and every hint of what may come next, watching as Rodgers' voice reverberates through the halls of the franchise, challenging the status quo and demanding action. As whispers become stories and stories become headlines, the anticipation builds. Will Rodgers get the reinforcements he seeks, or will his patience reach its breaking point? The Steelers' front office faces a defining moment, and the rumor mill is just getting started. For those following the saga, it's clear that this is more than a story about one quarterback's demands. It's a saga about ambition, influence, and the unrelenting drive to win that has always defined Aaron Charles Rodgers. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.